the athletes who are trying to win this one, Byron?
Well, basically, if they can go 15:39, that means they're averaging about 103s. All right, a little bit under. So we'll see how they're doing. Obviously, the first 100's quicker, and then they settle into a rhythm after that.
Relax, swimmers.
And if ever there was a reaction to the gun that was less important, then it would be here in the 1500.
Yes, it would. And obviously there's a glitch with the starting mechanism, so the starter has told them to please step down, and they will wait for the whistle. Usually it's one or two short little blasts, which means get on the blocks. There we go, 3 little blasts. And then one long one means it's turned over to the starter. They're going to go right to the starter.
Take your marks.
All right, closest to the camera is Sebastian Paulins in lane 0. Michael Antioff in lane 1. Rabin Doman in lane 2. Patrick Hussey is in 3. Stanford Lee is in 4. The other yellow lane is Nicholas Massivard, the oldest swimmer in the field at 26. Eric Brown's in lane 6. Alexander Axon, we've seen him several times in this meet, is in 7. Xavier Pimentel's in 8. Andrew Wojnowski is in lane number 9 at the very top of the pool from, well, this location.
So we mentioned how the Etobicoke Club has had a lot of the women in that last race in the 800-meter freestyle. There's 3 swimmers from the Pointe Claire Swim Club, which has had a very, very rich legacy of swimming in Canada. Just outside of Montreal and the West Island, Pointe Claire Swim Club has always been one of the forerunners. Had one of the first indoor 50-meter pools in the country, actually. Since that time, they built another 50-meter pool right next to it that's very good, and they have held national championships. And it's something that it's in the culture, and the coaches there, Martin Gingras and Philip Gavrick, are the kind of coaches that really like to get that work ethic and embed that in the athletes, and they bite it off. They like it, and they're into it. And right now, they're sitting in, looks like first and second spot.
Byron, I'm going to think a lot of these racers looked up to Ryan Cochran throughout his career, and he had at least the top 10 times in Canadian history, starting with that 14:39 and up to 14:39, and then just a 10-second window there in the top 10 times, all belong to Ryan Cochran. And eventually, after winning medals for Canada at the world stage, he finally retires, but his legacy still lives on.
Ryan Cochran was unbelievable because he really came from not necessarily a star background when he was a youngster, and then he started to get better really quickly. He said he actually contemplated retirement at one point, and then all of his other buddies were improving. He wasn't improving that much, and they named him to just a local sort of age group team, or a sort of a mini local team. I think he went out of the province or whatever, and he thought, well, this is kind of cool. And boy, then he just started to step it up. And at the time, there was a national center based in Victoria, and he was part of that, and the coach that moved there ended up becoming a mentor to him and obviously doing a fantastic job, Randy Bennett. And they were able to conquer the world. And it's just something when you've got someone as good as Ryan Cochran, and your team walks into battle at a World Championships or an Olympic Games, and you know you've got a guy like Ryan Cochran there. You know he's going to be able to win a medal for the country. And it just gives you such a feeling of power and strength and confidence. And he did that for almost a decade. He was unbelievable, one of the best distance swimmers in the world.
And this group of 4 at the front, the first to touch is going to be Eric Brown in 6. And then beside him is Alex Axon, Nicholas Massivard, and Stanford Lee are all within, in fact, not Nicholas Massivard, but Lee and Hussey are close together.
Well, and 3 of the 4 Pointe Claire swimmers are actually in the top 4 spots. The one ruining it for them is Alex Axon, who's basically almost in the lead at this point. It's Eric Brown that's taking the lead. We saw Eric Brown, and I should mention that at this meet, at the trials for the Olympic Games, there's usually preliminaries and finals for 1,500 meters and 800 meters. But because of the restrictions by COVID and the pandemic, they couldn't have enough swimmers in the pool at certain times, so they decided to run this as what's called a time final. So someone in the morning preliminary session could have actually made the Olympic team if he was fast enough, or she in the 800, and these swimmers would have had to try to knock him out. Didn't happen, of course, but it could have. So it's a time final event, and this guy right now and out in front, Eric Brown, he wasn't fast enough to get into the fast heat of the 400-meter freestyle. The time he posted in the morning just missed a medal in the 400-meter freestyle. Had he been able to do it at night, he probably would have been able to win a medal. So it's a very unique twist, one of the many adjustments that's had to happen because of COVID at these trials.
So Brown was at 4:01 through 400 meters. Byron, I would think you have to kind of go into like a Zen state almost here.
Well, when I swam, I was a sprinter, so I'm not sure. But, yes, distance swimming is a very different bird. It's a very different thing. The athletes, the one thing that I've noticed with some distance swimmers is that you work so hard for this 15-minute race that sometimes they confuse working hard with swimming faster when it counts at the meets. And you've got to be able to bridge both of those. You've got to have the mentality to work hard, but you got to know that the working hard is a step. It's not a be-all and an end-all. And then you can use that to give you the confidence to race really well. Nice battle shaping up for the lead at this point.
Yeah, Brown and Axon out there in lanes 6 and 7 are hanging with each other and breathing towards each other on this portion anyway, so they can see exactly where the other one is.
And different freestylers like different breathing patterns. Some like to breathe on either side. They'll go 3 in a row, like they'll breathe on the left side and then go sort of a stroke and a half, breathe on the right side, etc. Some like to predominantly stay on just one side. Both these gentlemen look like they're just going to stay on the one side, although interestingly, you see Eric Brown, he was breathing on his left side going down to our right. Now that he's coming back, he's breathing on his right side. All right, both these athletes have switched. Very interesting. You don't see that very often where the athletes breathe on one side and then they do an entire 180 and breathe on the other side for the entire next length. It's not just to look at their rival and try to beat them. It's something that they've learned to do, and it keeps their stroke a bit balanced. Katie Ledecky breathes on one side the whole race, and obviously she's the gold standard that many like to refer to.
No doubt about it. And obviously the women's 1500 makes its debut at the Olympics in about 4 or 5 weeks.
Yes, for years and years and years, well, for as long as I've known it, the two distance events, as we call them at the Olympic Games, were the 800 for women and the 1500, this race for men. So the men never got to do an 800, but more importantly, the women never got to do the 1500-meter freestyle. And it seemed a bit silly. Both events were at the World Championships, but they were never at the Olympics. So finally, that's been rectified going into this Olympic Games. I've got to think that the presence of Katie Ledecky helped speed up that dramatic change by the people at FINA, the World Swimming Body, to make sure they could see her in another race. So both those races will be in. The men will get to do the 800 now, and the women will get to do the 1500 meters.
Right now it is Eric Brown from the Pointe Claire Club, who is 4th in that 400, who's going to flip for 700 meters in 7:06.15. Right behind him from the Markham Aquatic Club, Alexander Axon.
They're on pace to absolutely shatter their best times. If these guys can continue at this level, they're going to be certainly on, by far, like 10 seconds, maybe even 20 seconds better than their best times. These are great, great efforts going in at this time. They're not going to be able to get the Olympic standard. That's 15 minutes flat. That's averaging 1 minute every single 100. So they are over that, but they're certainly on their way to do a personal best time for a lot here.
15:57 is the personal best for Eric Brown. It's 16 flat for Alex Axon. So they continue to push themselves and push each other.
In 2012, they added open water swimming to the Olympic Games. 10 kilometers in some type of an open water, be it a bay, a sea, or whatever. And the first one that ever swam for Canada in the open water was a woman named Sophie Balash from the Toronto area. And she literally just stopped by. I saw her a couple hours ago. She stopped by the pool. She's now a member of the Toronto Police Force. And so she pulled up in her police car, and we're looking at her wondering if there was something wrong at the pool, and out stepped Sophie Ballas. So she was the first one, and now Mark Perry's running a very good open water program for Swimming Canada. And the swimmers like the distance. They'll start with this event, and then they'll probably even, those that like it, will even move to the longer 5-kilometer and 10-kilometer open water distances.
What's interesting, Byron, is that 5 years ago at the Olympic trials, obviously Ryan Cochran won that in 15 minutes flat, and no one from that race, no one from that race is in this final tonight.
It's a very interesting observation. The one guy that possibly could have been is the guy that finished 5 years ago, Hao Li Fan, and full marks for Howley. He went over to that open water trials. It was a special trials to qualify for the Olympic Games in the 10-kilometer open water held in Portugal over the last couple days, and he qualified. He made it under the continental qualification procedure, and he will be off to Tokyo. Trains in Vancouver at the National Center at UBC with his coach Brad Dingy.
Eric Brown's last lap, if I read this correctly, Byron, was 30.7, so he's through 900 meters in 9:09, and then now actually through 950 meters.
So he's averaging about 101s, which is great. And as we said, his best time is 15:57, which is averaging 103. So this is a breakout summer for Eric Brown. We saw it in the 400 free, did his best time by 8 seconds. He's going to do his best time in this race by about 30 seconds or maybe even 40. He's really, really doing a fantastic bang-up job. Alex Axon's doing a great job too, the 18-year-old. Both of them are 18, right next to him in second spot. Training at the Markham Aquatic Club, as I mentioned, with Coach Sean Baker.
And he's at a busy beat. Alex Axon, 5th in the 200 free, and he was 3rd in the 400. So he's been busy and he's been fast, and now he's really stretching it out.
Well, and most of these guys will be back in 2 days in the 800-meter freestyle. And one of the reasons the Olympic Games isn't over 3 or 4 or 5 days, but it's over 8 or 9, is they spread the event of the 1,500-meter free prelims and finals over 2 days, as opposed to maybe the 200-meter individual medley that would have prelims, semifinals, and finals. They just have a prelims and a finals, but it would be over 2 days. So these guys will be back at an 800-meter freestyle in 2 days for sure.
Eric Brown is not slowing down, Byron. He's getting close to 1,100 meters now.
And it's interesting because he's still hit a very good kick. Look at his leg kick. It's still fairly powerful. Not as powerful as we'll see later today in the 50-meter sprint freestyle. As opposed to Alex Axon behind him. You'll watch Alex. Alex just lets his legs drag. Look at that. They're hardly even moving. And that's because the legs take a lot of oxygen and they don't get you as much drive as the arms. So a lot of the athletes like to save that energy that they might be expending and put it into their arms. Ryan Cochran used to have a 6-speed powerful kick the entire 1,500 meters. So everybody does it a little bit differently. Axon has chosen to do basically what's almost a stutter kick. He just basically lets the legs drag behind, maybe 1 or 2 kicks every few arm rotations. But Eric Brown impressively has got his legs going. Takes a little extra muscle power in your core to be able to keep that leg kick going for the entire 15-plus minutes.
Every lap is under 31 seconds for Eric Brown, the 18-year-old from Pointe Claire, who just continues to impress. But the other interesting thing is Alex Axon isn't falling farther behind, really. In fact, he might actually be closing us a little bit.
Well, he's better start closing quicker if he wants to win. He's running out of time as they get here to the 1,200. There's only 6 laps to go. The other 2 Pointe Claire teammates, Eric Brown, will come into this picture in just a second here, going the other way. They're in 3rd and 4th spot. So they're doing a good job. They're close to right on their best times, or very close to them. But they're obviously not where Eric Brown is, their teammate. Chances are they saw this in workouts too. Somebody doesn't break out like this without showing this kind of stuff in daily training.
And those two are Stanford Lee and Patrick Hussey. But Eric Brown on the other end of the pool is ready to flip at 12:46.01 for 1,250 meters.
And that's about the first 50 that he's gone over the 31 second. But look, they're barely over, right? 6/100ths of a second. So sometimes they refer to distance swimmers as like metronomes. You need to get into a rhythm so your body's used to it and it becomes efficient at that. And then you just keep splitting the same time, the same time, the same time, the same time. And some of them do what's called negative splitting, Rob, where they'll go out at a certain level and then they'll actually have enough energy. They can start picking it up and picking it up on the back half of the race.
So that last 30.91 for 50 meters. It's got to feel good when you know you've got less than 200 to go. Eric Brown is pushing hard. Remember his personal best time, 15:57. And he has now started to spread the distance between he and Alex Axon in lane 7.
Yeah, Alex made a nice little move there at the 1100 to try to get back and close that gap. What a lot of the distance swimmers will like to try to do is they say, that they want to break the opposition. They want to break them, make a move and break them, and then sort of morally demoralize them. And I think that just happened at the last turn, at the other end of the pool, coming back to this turn right now. And Alex is doing a great job. He's going to do a best time by a ton, but he was trying to catch, and he isn't going to be able to catch this man, Eric Brown.
And Brown with just 100 meters to go. 2 lengths of the pool coming through 1,400 in 14, 18, and 4.
Well, this is also great because there has been a bit of a void in distance swimming in Canada since Ryan Cochrane retired. And now all of a sudden, a lot of people will be pointing to Eric Brown and Alex Axon as two guys that can maybe pick up that man and run with it. They're only 18 years of age, so, you know, they're kind of young to get into this level. I'm just so impressed with Eric Brown here. He's going to go almost 30 seconds under his best time. That's unheard of at this level.
Indeed, he goes 14:50 in 14:49. And now just about 25 meters to go. Eric Brown, the 18-year-old who was 4th in the 400 meters, and he's going to be the Canadian champion here at the Olympic trials. His personal best, 15:57. It's going to be blown out of the water at 15:19.69. Nicely done. Here comes Axon in second in 15:26. Another personal best for him as well. And the battle for third place will be won by Stanford Lee. He approaches the wall, and he will touch at 15:38. 3-2.
So Stanford Lee's right on his best time. Alex Axon beats his best time by over 30 seconds, and Eric Brown beats his best time by about 27 seconds. Very, very big breakthroughs. And one of the reasons we might be seeing this breakthrough, Rob, is that, of course, these guys missed all of last year. They didn't have the opportunity to take maybe a 10 or 20-second jump on their best times last year because there were no meets. So this is sort of making up for the dead time of not having an opportunity to see where you stand. And it takes a lot of courage, though, when you're taking that kind of a leap in performance to be doing that in training. And as I said, Martin Gingras, running that Pointe Claire program, was driving these guys to this level and had faith that they could do it. And that's a real big step forward.
I have 42-second personal best for Eric Brown. And for Alex Axon, let's see here. His time was 15:26. His personal best was 16 flat. So that's 34 seconds. Outstanding.
Obviously, off the start, they're just kind of relaxing into their first strokes. Unlike what we'll see in the 50 freestyle, where the first stroke is almost sets up the tone for who's going to win the race. It's got to be so powerful, so quick, and get the swimmers way up on top of the water. And then throughout the rest of the way, as I said a bit earlier, it's very, very important to get into a rhythm. You've got to be comfortable with your stroke. You've got to set it up so that you're basically doing the same splits lap after lap after lap. Maybe picking it up as you go through after the halfway or the 3/4 mark. But you can't be falling off or it's really tough to keep up that time.